Okay, so we are on week 5. So go ahead and look at your laminated map with your crayon out. And today we're going to be adding Ohio. We're going to be adding Indiana. I don't need extra comments right now. And part of Michigan. So we're going to be doing this whole mitten shape. This is actually the other part of Michigan, but we'll get to that later. Okay? So we're going to be adding Ohio, Indiana, and Michigan. Now set your crayon aside and get out a pencil so we can do some pencil thumb measuring. All right. Oh, I need a lesson here. Okay, so we're going to start with Ohio. Do you see that? Okay. And I want you to notice, starting here at the bottom of Massachusetts, do you see that line kind of it breaks and then continues here at Pennsylvania? It also continues kind of into Ohio and even into Indiana. We're going to kind of draw those as kind of a straight line, okay? So it's a continuation all the way from the coast. So this is going to form the north border of Ohio. Now, so we're going to draw it as a straight line out from Pennsylvania. Let's measure how far it is. Now, I think I measured it as across the same as New York, straight across the bottom. So measure New York, that straight line of New York, just the straight line, not the full state. Do you see that? I kind of put that I call the New York eagle, and I call this his beak. It's like the flat part of his beak.
Are we doing it yet?
So you're measuring it right now. And Ohio is that same size. Do you see that? So when we're drawing it, that would measure the same size. And then it's also, this straight line down is a 90-degree angle. And it's actually the same size down as well. Did you see that? So it's the same length as, look carefully at the map. This part, the beak to the throat of the eagle. This is our measurement that we're going to use for Ohio. Across and down. Does that make sense? Okay. And then it ends kind of with a roundish bottom. But let's see. It scoops down as low as Maryland does. Remember how we made Maryland and it kind of scooped down? Ohio is going to reach down that far too. Hey, Hezekiah, why don't you find a new seat, bro? But they almost come down to that dotted line. This is why I have your paper folded in quarters. Okay? We're going to start to fill that sheet. And you're going to know Ohio should almost come down to that folded line, but not quite. And it's going to end back at almost the middle of Indiana. Okay? Now let's look over to Indiana. The next state over. Again, it's that continuation from the bottom of Massachusetts, across to New York, across Ohio, and continuing into Indiana. That's going to form our northern border. But how far across? Well, it's actually the same distance as our Vermont, New Hampshire. So we'll go back to that original rectangle. Go ahead and measure it and check for me. Use your pencil thumb and measure. Is it about the same?
Same as what?
Same across. Vermont and New Hampshire, that original rectangle across is going to be the same that Indiana is across. Am I right? Yes. Okay. All right. Now this also goes down in a 90-degree angle. And it's the same length as New York, but with a slight bend. What do I mean the same length as New York? Let's see, I'm going to measure Indiana. Ooh. Oh, is that the height? Yes. I didn't write that. It's the same height as New York. Did you get that? Did you measure that one? It should, the height of Indiana should be the same height as New York. Got it? But it has a slight bend to it. And then to finish it up, it kind of curves back up to meet at the corner of Ohio.
Are you supposed to draw this now?
Nope, right now we're just studying it. Okay? So that forms Ohio and Indiana. Now let's look up at Michigan. We have another mitten, another left-handed mitten, but with a more pronounced thumb than the main mitten. And so first, I recommend finding the height of it. How high is that mitten going to reach up? Again, with our pencil thumb, it's going to reach up again the height of New York. So that's how high the mitten's going to go. So I would mark that. Then we're going to measure how high the thumb is. And that thumb is also going to be the height of Vermont. So I would mark those heights out. And then we're going to pay attention where their starting points are for Michigan. Almost at the top corner of Indiana. It's going to swoop up, touch that high point, and come back down to make a thumb. And then it comes back, I would say, what do you think? If we divided Ohio into thirds, I think it would come into a third. Okay? All right, so now go ahead and lay your paper over the top of your map, and we're going to draw it out. Yeah. All right, so always we start in the same place, always that same rectangle. And as you're tracing this, I would say this is the most important rectangle. I'm going to move this just a little bit because one thing that's really going to improve your accuracy is its size and its placement on your paper, but also the angles. Take a look up at the screen for a minute. Take a look at the edge of the paper, and I have my pencil laid across the edge of it. You want to try to remember about what this angle is. Okay, because this is going to set the pace for lots of our lines. Okay? All right. All right, we can pick up the pace a little bit. So we're going to go ahead and divide those into Vermont and New Hampshire. Again, that height is the same height as Maine, so it swoops up. And it's also the same width across here for the thumb. Also, its widest point is kind of straight across from the top. So just to make sure your thumb is even in the right place, so it's not sagging down too low. All right. One thing these smaller states that come underneath Vermont and New Hampshire, they're a little tricky. Oh my goodness, we need to pick up the pace. We'll talk about that later. I like to make those together. Trace those out with the hook. Trace out Connecticut and Rhode Island. What comes next? Oh yeah, that's right, because we're gonna measure out the beak, how far that goes, because that's this height laid down, and then we connect to this is a continuation here. Connect that with the curve, make a nice throat there for the bird. It really doesn't look like a bird, I just say that. Then Pennsylvania, he kind of sticks out his tongue out of that beak because he's like, bleh, bleh. He sticks it out just a little bit. Straight line down for Pennsylvania, across. Then we've got to S-curve it to connect it up. Then you make a J for New Jersey. Whoops, don't forget Rhode Island. Not Rhode Island, Long Island. Okay. All right, these are what we did last week. Delaware. Delaware?
Delaware.
It's so little. So where? Remember, it starts in Pennsylvania. Straight line down. Then you have to make that cute, tiny little boot. It's so cute. It's so cute. All right. And it's hidden inside of West Virginia. No, that's not it. It's Maryland. Sorry. Whole nother song. We'll get to West Virginia. All right. That one's not great. Okay. Remember how we said? All right. So this you've done before, right? All right. We're going to so I'm just going to trace this line out. Remember, it's along the bottom of Massachusetts, across New York, and pretty much straight across. Because that's what we're going to be measuring on. Now we said Ohio was how far? Oh yeah, the throat of New York. And then it has a 90-degree angle that goes again, that throat or the bottom beak of New York, straight down. With the curve down that's about the same as Maryland, and it comes up. I'm sorry? It is this, the line down is the same almost as that it is across. And that's that beak of New York, not including its throat, okay? Then we're going to add in Indiana. Who remembers what it is across? The same as Vermont, right? Again, it goes down at a 90-degree angle. Going too fast? Sorry.
You can always go back and watch the video too, guys.
Yep. And it goes down the height of New York, I think. Yep. But it bends a little bit at the end. And then it curves up to connect to Ohio's corner. Okay? Again, we're going to go up to Michigan. Take that height of New York because it's going to reach up that high, maybe even a little more. And its thumb is the height of Vermont. Okay, find your starting points. Almost at the beginning of Indiana, corner of Indiana, and 1/3 of the way from Ohio. It swoops up to that high point, makes a thumb, and back down. Pretty good. All right, that's it.